Hello, my name's Robert Hosteller. A lot of people know me as Bob, and I was asked by Blaine to talk a little bit to give you a story of mine. I need to go back to, I'm 62 now, and I need to go back to when I was 35 years old. And the reason for that is because I was facing clinical depression, and it had been happening for a number of years. But I ended up in the emergency room a couple of times, and eventually I ended up in a mental hospital. And the reason that I ended up in a mental hospital is I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to destroy myself. And that's because of the amount of bondage that I felt. And so as I was in the hospital, then there are various people that were trying to help me with what was going on, but nothing really helped very much until my pastor came. And he helped me understand who God is a whole bunch more and what he wanted for me. And he did that with the use of some scripture. First place he took me is from Psalm 32:3. This is when David was coming out of a depression. And David says, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long." And so what my pastor asked me is, "Do your bones hurt?" Now, he had been depressed, and he knew that depression doesn't just lie in our emotions or our soul or our spirit even, but in our body. And that was the first place he took me. And so I got to identify immediately with King David and the depression that he'd been through. And so I knew at 35 enough about God to be able to say, yes, God is able to make these dead bones in me live. The question wasn't whether he could, but whether he wanted to. So next he took me to Jeremiah 29:11. It's amazing to me how those emotions are still alive in me. Anyway, Jeremiah 29:11. What does God want for me? It says here, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." How I experience depression is despair. And so he spoke directly to the need for hope and a future. And so that is a very, very real thing for me. Jesus' mission is for me to be free and whole. It's an amazing thing to want for me, and I'm very thankful. What was keeping me from being free and whole? And it had to do with shame. It had to do with believing myself to be unworthy, and stuff that's in common for all of us. And so the free from what question for me really came down to bitterness. And bitterness in my heart is about me judging and condemning others. That is not freedom. That will suck me into depression and everything that goes with it, and despair. And yet here I am in my 60s, and I've been facing another clinical depression. And so I've come far enough to know, and I'm recovering right now, I've come far enough to know that God still wants me to be free and whole. And what has captured my heart right now, where I am not free and whole, is from a feeling of scarcity, that when stress comes, I feel like I am no longer worthy of love. That is not who God is, not at all.